Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into Erik Larson's incredible book, The Demon of Unrest. It's a gripping countdown through the 5 nail-biting months between Abraham Lincoln's election and the very first shots of the American Civil War. Okay, let's get right into it. The key word here from Larson is suspense. See, this isn't just some dry history lesson. He frames it like a thriller, focusing on the very human flaws, the egos, the paranoia, the political gambling that pushed an entire nation, step by agonizing step, right over the edge. So our story really kicks off in November 1860. The nation is holding its breath. And then the results come in. Abraham Lincoln is the next president. Now, for the North, this is a huge victory. But for the South, it's like a spark landing in a national powder keg, about to set off a fire that would consume everything. And the reaction in the South is immediate and, frankly, volcanic. In Charleston, they're not just protesting. They're holding a funeral for the United States. To them, a Black Republican president isn't just a political loss. It's an existential threat to their entire way of life. And the calls for secession? They are absolutely deafening. So you have to ask, why such an extreme reaction? Well, to get it, we have to go beyond just the politics and really try to understand the Southern worldview. It was a society built on this rigid, almost feudal code of chivalry, slavery, and honor, a set of principles that made compromise look like weakness and made secession feel like a moral duty. At the very heart of this was a culture of honor they called the chivalry. And get this. Larson tells a story about 2 students who actually dueled to the death over a plate of fish. A plate of fish. Now, just imagine applying that same deadly serious logic to national politics. A perceived insult, like, say, the election of Lincoln, couldn't just be debated. It had to be met with a challenge. And this was the source of their incredible confidence, or you might even say arrogance. As Senator James Henry Hammond famously declared, cotton is king. They truly believed their economic power, which was built entirely on slavery, made them invincible. In their minds, the industrial North, even Great Britain, would completely crumble without their cotton. They were untouchable. And this right here, this shows you the foundation of that kingdom. This isn't just data on a slide. It's from a real auction flyer. You see infants, Chloe, and Aesop listed like assets. You see these cold-blooded notes about their health or their supposed intelligence, all just to set a price. This was the brutal, systematic dehumanization that fueled their wealth and, at the same time, their deepest fears of an uprising. Now, all of this political fire, all this fury, is about to focus on one single point of land, a lonely federal fortress sitting right in the middle of Charleston's harbor. And at the center of it all is one man, completely caught between his duty to his country and the disaster he sees coming. Major Anderson is such a tragic, conflicted character. He's from Kentucky, he's a former slave owner himself, so he gets the Southern perspective, but he is fiercely loyal to the Union. I mean, can you imagine the pressure? He's totally surrounded, completely cut off, and to make it a true Greek tragedy, the man commanding the forces against him is General Beauregard, his close friend and one of his best former students. His personal letters just reveal the incredible strain he was under. He's writing these really tender notes to his wife, his precious pet, while he's secretly planning this incredibly daring move, abandoning the vulnerable Fort Moultrie and shifting all his men to the much more defensible Fort Sumter, all under the cover of darkness. It was a huge gamble that he hoped would make her proud. So here's the crucial point. While his new fort is strong, his position is actually impossibly weak. You see, he could probably hold out against cannon fire, but he couldn't hold out against hunger. The Confederate authorities cut off all his supply lines, essentially turning the whole siege into a grim waiting game. Okay, so while Anderson is trapped in his fortress, the president-elect is on his own perilous journey. Abraham Lincoln has to get to Washington to be sworn in, but the country is so fractured, so filled with hate, that just traveling to the capital has become a life-or-death mission. So you have this incredible split-screen reality going on. On the one hand, the public sees a president-elect on this triumphant tour, giving speeches to cheering crowds. But the secret reality? It's a race against time. His security detail, led by the famous detective Alan Pinkerton, has uncovered a very credible plot to assassinate him in Baltimore. They have to stop it before he even takes the oath of office. This sequence is just extraordinary. I mean, think about it. It's like something out of a spy movie. They change the whole schedule, they stick him on a separate, unmarked car, and then, at 3:30 in the morning, his train car is literally pulled by horses through the streets of Baltimore to avoid the angry mobs. The future president of the United States arrives in his own capital, not in triumph, but smuggled in like a fugitive. All right, it's now April 1861. All the attempts at compromise have failed. Lincoln has been inaugurated, Anderson's men are starving, and the countdown has reached its final terrifying hours. This is the point of no return. And you can just see how methodically it all unfolds. It's like this grim, formal dance. There are demands, polite but firm refusals, and then a final warning with a 1-hour deadline. At 4:30 a.m. on April 12th, the first shell is fired. The talking is officially over. Forever. For Charleston's high society, the start of the war is a spectacle. The famous diarist Mary Chestnut describes the mood as phosphorescent, like a party mixed with this electric tension. They are literally on their rooftops watching the show begin. But while Charleston's elite are having rooftop parties, the reality inside the fort is complete and utter chaos. There is no spectacle, just a rude, violent awakening. Captain Doubleday is literally sleeping in a powder magazine when someone comes stumbling in the dark. The war has arrived, not with a party, but with a bang. After 34 hours of relentless bombardment, with his fort literally burning down around him, Major Anderson has to surrender. But the fall of Fort Sumter doesn't end the crisis. Oh no, it's the final signal. The Demon of Unrest is finally, truly unleashed upon the nation. And what was a standoff over one fort instantly becomes a full-blown civil war. The North responds to Lincoln's call for troops with this overwhelming enthusiasm. But for states like Virginia and North Carolina, the idea of using force against another state is the absolute last straw. They begin to secede, and both sides rush to arms with a kind of fervor that nobody could have predicted. This is the estimated number of American lives the war would ultimately take. A cost that, in the spring of 1861, as people cheered in the streets of both Charleston and New York, was just utterly, completely unimaginable. And that really is the haunting question that Larson leaves us with. How does a nation, filled with people on all sides who are absolutely convinced that they are right, walk step by deliberate step into a catastrophe? The Demon of Unrest is so much more than a history book. It's a timeless warning about how the momentum of anger, pride, and misunderstanding can lead any society towards its own self-destruction.